My mic wasn't unmuted that entire time. No. I'm gonna fucking cry. Why am I so bad at this? What? I'm sorry, what the fuck am I looking at? Is she smooching her own son on the lips? Why? Why would anyone do that? Anyway, back to what we were doing. Uh Fuck, I forgot girl is graduating too. There's really nothing I want to watch here. Oh hey, I haven't seen SML in a while. Strangely, I'm getting recommended the fucking 2-year-old video though. I remember watching that. What's the latest video? 4 hours. Jeffy, the 3? They made the third one? Oh, let's go. It's gonna be toned down from the first one though, and we all know it. The first and the second one. Louis? Oh. Oh, we might be back, chat. Are we entering the SML Renaissance? We're not gonna watch them on stream though, because I don't know if I'm gonna give good reactions for all that. Why is there a second SML channel? What's on this one? Oh, so this is like their older SML channel from before they got copyrighted again for like the 14 millionth time. Oh, I just realized it's been over 4 years since they switched to the puppets. Fuck, now I feel old. Okay. Uh, yeah, we were doing a react stream. Let's get into it. Okay, everyone, today we're gonna be watching Why We Still Need Men. Let's get into it. Fuck, hold on. I forgot to unmute the browser too. You gotta be fucking kidding me here. Can I get one thing right this stream? Anyway, everybody, today we're gonna be watching Why We Still Need Men. Let's get into it.
Feminism fights for women's liberation and the abolition of the patriarchal society where men are considered the standard. Men don't need to be a part of it. That's a direct quote from this specific TikTok that criticizes the general take that women who bring down men aren't feminists because feminism fights for equality. I genuinely think that these kinds of takes are part of the reasons why so many people, both men and women, don't support feminism, because so many people think that feminism is a standalone issue when it's not. Let's intersect race into the idea that all men are the standard. This woman looks white. I'm not completely sure, she might be Italian, but let's use white as an example. If we went all the way back to women's suffrage, there were some men who fought alongside women, except those men were all white, because some of the white women who were fighting for their rights to vote didn't want men of color included. White women are more likely to receive adequate health care and treated fairly by doctors, while men of color, especially black men, are often victims of medical racism. The wage gap is a huge topic of modern feminism.
I mean, so far no one can get mad at what she's saying since she's speaking nothing but facts. Let's find my so small. Hold on. There we go.
But white women have more access to well-paying jobs than women of color or men of color. I know that both white women and men of color face gendered expectations in the workplace, but white women still often get paid more than men of color for the same jobs. Modern media will sometimes represent women.
Wait, is that accurate? Because I've heard people from both sides saying like Some people using math to disprove it because of the choice of job, and others just like saying it's true, but I haven't really seen any evidence that it is true. And before you say that it's on me to look for it, they're the ones making the point, meaning the burden of proof is on them and not me.
Issues, but again from a white mainstream view, like how the Bechdel test asks if a movie has at least 2 named female characters who talk to each other about something other than a man. But there isn't a similar test to how people of color are portrayed as stereotypes or minor roles as side characters, supporting white characters, or existing to serve a specific narrative about race. Despite me making all of these points, I promise you that I do know that
I mean, do you even really need a test? I feel like it's just whatever the character is. Oh well, as long as as long as it's not like a stereotype, because it's all fiction at the end of the day, isn't it? I mean, maybe that's just on me because I don't really ever look for representation in media, and at the same time, I'm not white.
white women have faced so much gender-based oppression within the patriarchal structures under white male power, but their positions in the racial hierarchy gives them certain privileges that men of color don't have, proving the nuance of male intersectionality. Does this mean that I think all men of color are more discriminated against than white women? No, obviously not. I just really hate when generalizations are made about any group, because people aren't inherently defined by the similarities they share with others. Those similarities exist to bring us together, not divide us. Like, to give an example, I personally dislike the saying "I hate men" in serious context. I don't really care if people say it as a joke, but genuinely that's almost never true. However, to be fair, I also hate the saying "not all men" in, again, serious context, as a response to when a
Yeah, same. Because I hate when people are saying like, for example, men are all rapists, or not men are all rapists. I haven't really seen anyone say that. That's poor phrasing on my part. Men can grape, or like I've been raped by men. And then some guy would come in the comments being like, not all men. Yeah, no shit. No shit, it's not all men. We're talking about the people that do it. It's implied. Where the fuck is your reading comprehension?
woman shares her experiences with harm caused by men. And I suggest you don't say it either, because while it's true that not all men are perpetrators, when people say that phrase in a response to a woman's trauma, they're missing the point of the actual story. Imagine your house is infested with spiders. You keep waking up with painful bites, your skin is irritated, and it's making you sick. You go to a doctor and explain what's happening, and instead of helping you, they say, well, not all spiders are poisonous. Yeah, sure, maybe not every spider in your house is harmful, but that doesn't change the fact that there's enough of them biting you to make your life miserable. You're not worried about the harmless ones, you're worried about the ones that are causing you pain. And since you can't immediately tell which spiders are safe and which aren't, you are going to be cautious around all of them. If a woman has had multiple negative experiences,
which honestly, that's just survival instinct, which I don't get why people are mad about it. As long as you aren't going out of your way to like antagonize men that are just minding their own fucking business, or saying that all men need to die, no one really gives a shit. Like, it's survival instinct.
with men, whether it's harassment, manipulation, or worse, then another man telling her, well, not all men are like that, isn't going to suddenly make her feel safe. I know that a lot of women already know the response of not all men is incredibly annoying, but I know that whenever a man says, I'm cautious of women because they have hurt me in the past, he will always be met with in some shape or form, but not all girls are like that. Yeah, we know, but just because you think you're special doesn't erase an experiences that clearly traumatize them. One of my closest peers almost got trafficked by a woman, and whenever they tell that story, they always get met with, I wouldn't think.
What? What is that lure drop? I'm sorry? What the fuck is that lure drop?
I don't think a woman can be a bad person just because she's a woman. You're an idiot. If a man has been sexually or violently abused, lied to, or hurt by multiple women, he's going to develop an understandable caution towards women. But if he shares his story and someone responds with not all women are like that, that would invalidate his pain too. His past experiences are still valid. The harm he's gone through deserves to be acknowledged without someone immediately defending the action of others. The problem will never be with victims who are cautious around a specific gender, because it will always be the fault of the people who gave them reasons to be cautious.
Yeah, and at the same time, even if they're cautious at first, if you show through your actions and your words that you aren't a threat, it is highly likely that they start to like stop being cautious around you. So you really have nothing to worry about unless you're one of the people that they're being cautious because of. Oh shit. I
If
dropped my
you
phone.
want to be a good person, don't argue that not all men or not all women are bad. Show it through your actions. Be someone who listens, who understands, and who works hard to make sure that you aren't the reason someone feels unsafe with whatever demographic you align yourself with, because that's what makes a safe space for others. I honestly wasn't sure if I wanted to talk about men ever again, because after I made a video about the male loneliness epidemic, some of you genuinely couldn't behave. But despite that, I did want to address some of the more thoughtful points that normal men had. In that video, I was mostly sharing my own opinions like I do in all my videos, and I specifically tackled male loneliness from a romantic angle. But a lot of the men in my comment section corrected me, saying that no, as a man, I also crave friendships because I am truly alone.
Yeah, no, I feel like the male loneliness epidemic could be solved if people were being friends more often. Because for some, I don't know why, but anytime I've seen a left-wing woman talk about it, they always think it boils down to sex, which it just doesn't. That's just not true.
Alone. And that's a valid point. But I think that actually falls under general loneliness, which isn't necessarily gendered. If I had made that video from a broad loneliness perspective rather than just a gendered one, my take would have been very different. There is some research that shows men and women who tend to form and rely on different types of social connections. Women typically maintain broader social support networks, including friends, family, and coworkers, which allows them to have multiple sources of emotional intimacy. On the other hand, men are often socialized to depend heavily, sometimes exclusively, on their romantic partner for emotional closeness. Because of this, when men
Honestly,
lack a romantic relationship,
is
they are
that
more
true?
vulnerable
I live in
to
the
emotional
East, and it isn't
isolation.
really
Women,
like that
even
over
if they're
here.
single, often still have strong friendships.
If anything, it's the other way around here, where men rely more on their friends and the women rely on their romantic partner.
Or family bonds to lean on. Again, back to how young boys are raised, men are socialized to express or not to express vulnerability. Many men are raised to avoid emotional openness with their male friends, which makes those friendships less emotionally intimate. So, even if they have friends, they might still feel emotionally lonely because they don't feel safe sharing their deeper struggles. It also seems like some men tie their entire sense of self-worth to whether or not they're in a relationship. Not just in the, oh, it'd be nice to have someone kind of way, but in the, if I'm not partnered, I'm fundamentally worthless kind of way. It's one thing to want companionship, that's natural. But to make being in a relationship that defining metric of your value as a person, wow, there's a lot to unpack there. Especially because this mindset seems way more common in more traditional American contexts, where men are heavily conditioned to measure their worth through external validation, their job, their income, and whether or not they have a partner. It's like their entire identity hinges on being desirable or needed by someone else.
Honestly, that's also true over here, but it's more so financial, or the financial aspect of it here in the West, where I am. I'm not going to specify where.
Which is just a deeply fragile place to put someone's self-esteem. What really weirds me out is how people talk about the purpose of men as a gender. The way it's framed is often so gross, if that makes sense. It almost feels like men are being reduced to
Did I say the West or the East? Hold on. I meant the East if I said the West.
walking biological machines. Their value is always tied to either how much they can threaten their own safety as protectors, soldiers, or laborers, or whether they can create life. Like when openly and proudly toxic misandrists say, we don't need men. One of the immediate gotcha comebacks is, yes you do, otherwise how would you reproduce? Hey, not all men are fertile. Almost 9% of men in America experience infertility, and globally it affects about 1 in 20 men. So by that...
Yeah, but that's still a minority. 10% is still a minority. While it may be on the larger end of a minority, it still is. The chances of the person you're with being what's it called, infertile, is negligible.
That logic, are infertile men just less valuable? It just feels grossly impersonal, as if their entire existence is only justified by their biological function. It makes me wonder if people pushing this narrative even like men, or if they just see them as tools. It might be the latter, considering that the second most common gotcha response is, who gets your car fixed? Who does your plumbing? Who runs society? For one, do you think that men are only valuable because they have jobs? And two, women and NBs also have jobs. A man's worth is not tied to their productivity or usefulness to society.
That part I don't really get, since women can also learn those skills and do learn those skills. Hell, some of them better than most men can do it. Like you're acting like men are just born with this latent talent in handiwork.
If you do believe that, you're basically implying that a man who isn't contributing labor, he's somehow less deserving of respect or care, which by the way is how people already view disabled men, which is super
What?
productive and cool. Anytime I see an opinion on men, it's never anything normal. Granted, it's typically people who are trying to start shit online, but I do understand that sometimes rage bait truly gets to people and even convinces others to have those extremist opinions. The question of why do we need men gets passed around so casually. I thought it was a joke at first because teehee, sexism so funny, but the more and more people ask it and others answer in the most superficial way possible is worrying me. Guys, what if we need men because they are human? You don't need to excuse their existence because they're
That's a
someone
crazy
else's
thing to
son,
imagine
someone
though. It's crazy to imagine men as people, isn't it?
else's father, someone else's brother, someone else's employer. What about they're just someone? Even if every single one of them
Muslim
was
rap
infertile,
nights.
they would still be needed in this world. Even if every single
just
one of them
realized that
decided they'd
because
rather
I
be a
don't really pay
stay-at-home
attention
husband than
to
a
this
working
site.
one, they would still be needed in this world. Even if every single one wanted to do nothing but put on a maid outfit and dance in front of their phone to anime music, they would still be needed in this world. But do you think the people who are trying to defend men from the question, why do we need men, would defend gay men? Would they defend trans men? Would they defend femboys? Would they defend submissive men? Would they defend feminist men? Would they defend liberal men? Would they defend men who want to go 50-50? Or would they say they only like real men? But masculinity is disappearing. It's not.
It's the latter.
But even if it was, I wholeheartedly wouldn't give a fuck. If masculinity was actually disappearing, and it was because the concept itself was making men unhappy because it no longer serves them, and they willingly choose to leave it behind, why is that a bad thing? There's obviously nothing wrong with masculinity, but most people don't like being told what to do. So if all men are told that masculinity is a dance that they have to perform, some of them will probably not want to dance for you.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. Traditional masculinity is ass. Like, it's no fun at all. I'd much rather do without it if I'm being honest here.
It's like if every
I feel like that's kind of obvious when you look at what I'm doing here.
man were forced to be vegetarian. We are technically biologically supposed to be vegetarians, which is why our teeth are shaped like this. And I'm sure that some men wouldn't mind being vegetarians, but forcing it onto everyone would still piss people off, even if it was technically good for them. Because obviously, people should have the right to choose. I believe that masculinity itself isn't the problem. And I think it's weird when others disagree, but toxic and rigid masculinity is the problem. When men are told that they have to be masculine, and being masculine means that they have to be emotionally suppressed, stoic, dominant, and aggressive at all times, it turns into a cage rather than a choice. Masculinity isn't disappearing, it's just becoming optional, and that should be a good.
Yeah, and it is a really good thing because it means men have more freedom of expression and they can be more happy because they don't have to live up to these bullshit roles.
Thing. We were beginning to get to a point where men could start embracing themselves without their dads beating them for gardening. But now I've noticed that other younger men start harping on each other for whatever activity they're doing and start insulting them by calling them gay. I was at the park with one of the kids I work with and I saw a very obviously middle-aged man flying a kite. The kid I was working with likes to watch people play basketball at the park, so we were sitting at one of the benches when I heard one of the very obviously teenage basketball players say, "Yo, you see that guy flying a kite? What the I seen."
What? Fuck, why did it go back? Where were we?
That video from
I try.
some
But what the fuck? Who calls someone that? Who calls someone the F-slur for just flying a kite?
shape or form. I'm of women already know the response of not all men is incredibly full bites. Your skin is irritated and it's making you sick. You go to a doctor and explain what's happening, and instead
Hold on.
to develop an understandable caution towards women. I wasn't sure if I wanted to talk about men ever again.
You know, so we way forward.
Place to put someone's self-esteem. What really weirds me out is how people talk about the purpose of men as it almost feels like men
Okay,
by
a
that
little further.
logic are inferred. Would they defend trans men? Would they defend
A little more.
Jews? I believe that masculinity itself isn't the problem. And I think it's weird when others disagree, piss people off, even if it was technically good for nothing wrong with masculinity, but most people don't like being told what to do. So if all men are told that masculinity is
Oh, it's over here.
becoming optional, and that should be a good thing. We were beginning to get to a point where men could start embracing themselves without their dads beating them for gardening. But now I've noticed that other younger men start harping on each other for whatever activity they're doing and start insulting them by calling them gay. I was at the park with one of the kids I work with, and I saw a very obviously middle-aged man flying a kite. The kid I was working with likes to watch people play basketball at the park, so we were sitting at one of the benches matches when I heard one of the very obviously teenage basketball players say, "Yo, you see that guy flying a kite? What the I seen gayer than that, bro." What a comedic genius. So ignoring that probably satirical part of him watching gay
What the fuck? Who says that about someone flying a kite? I still don't understand what's feminine about that.
It's not even a stereotypically feminine thing to do. What? I've seen that joke making its way through the internet a bit, and don't get me wrong, I did like the joke at first since I originally saw it targeted at alpha males who were being cringe. But now, as the internet does, ruined it by taking it way too far and applying it to men who are just doing normal human things. No, bro, washing your is not gay. No, bro, using an umbrella is not gay. No, bro, wearing a seatbelt is not gay. No, bro, flying a kite is not gay. I know a lot of the things I brought up were most likely jokes, but like just because you're self-conscious about doing something does not make the deed gay. Just like women who have a preference for men who have good eyesight does not make the men who don't have good eyesight gay. Plus, I thought we were past this. Who gives a shit if a man who wears glasses, washes his ass, flies a kite, or wears a seatbelt and uses an umbrella is a homosexual? Oh, because it's gay? Shut up. I am just so sick and tired of seeing men being put down by men, by women, by whoever, for simply doing regular
Yeah, men are being put down by everyone for like dumbass shit.
human things, all because of the crushing weight of higher expectations. You aren't doing this thing right. You're not doing it in a manly way enough. You need to live your life like this, otherwise you should yourself. Oh my god, what if we treated men like human beings outside of their gender? What if they don't need to be stoic providers or powerful protectors who justify their existence? Men deserve to live when they're decent human beings, when they're empathetic and care about others. Seems like a given, but none of those points are stressed ever. Not by the right, not by the left, and not even people who oppose feminism because they think it's man-hating propaganda. We need men because they have human souls with whimsy, complexity, and tenderness, not because they can lift heavy things, fight wars, and father children. Men don't exist to be tools, automatic machines, or sperm donors. Their worth is not measured by how useful they are to others. We need men who spend months on a story they passionately love, who support other creators when they put on a show, who put on a high-pitched baby voice for their cats, who dance
Chat, I love creative writing so fucking much. Please let more men get into it without being viewed as like feminine.
however they want to express, who yap for hours about an extremely niche thing that I've never heard about. Because as much as I love women and envies, life would be rather boring without men. We need men who are allowed to be full, complicated people without the constant pressure to perform masculinity for others who truly don't care about them. Because oh my god, have you noticed the pattern of people only giving a shit about men when people are trying to give a shit about women? If you only bring up male essay victims to bring down someone who's talking about female essay, then you don't care about men. If you only care about Men's International Day in March to invalidate Women's International Day, then you don't care about men. If you only ever bring up men's issues to bring down people who are talking about women's issues, you don't care about men. If the only
Which is all extremely accurate, because why the fuck would you only care about it then? Either you care about it all the time, or you shut the fuck up.
time that you're trying to show your unconditional love for men is when you're trying to show your unconditional hatred for women, you don't care about men. If you only care about men when it's men who share the same ideology, the same political label, the same fashion sense, the same skin color, the same interest, the same class level, or the same ability.
Spoiler alert, that means you do not give a fuck about men.
You don't care about men. I've been planning to make this video for a while because I know that men have their issues too that don't get talked about very well, or at least not very often. And I'm not saying that in a boo-hoo, poor men don't get enough attention kind of way. I'm saying that in a oh my god, people don't realize that men are all different kind of way. At the beginning of this video, I mentioned male intersectionality, and I looked it up to see if it was already a term outside of my very original thought, and of course it was. Me having an original thought, hilarious. But I also looked it up on YouTube to see if anyone was talking about male intersectionality. And it's entirely possible that someone has handled it with nuance and not in an it's all women's fault kind of way. But the top results were Jordan Peterson
Ew!
and Ben Shapiro talking about how intersectionality in general is just the oppression Olympics. You don't deserve to express your opinion because you're privileged, which was surprising to hear, honestly, since they both spread their opinions with a lot of ease for people who claim that people only let you talk if you're oppressed. But also, they both benefit from intersectionality. Despite both of them being rich, well-known, cis, straight, able-bodied, and white, Jordan is a Canadian citizen, making him a foreigner in the US, which can subject him to forms of discrimination or exclusion, especially in the current climate where ICE is targeting immigrants from from all countries, not just those from the global south. And then Ben is Jewish, which is an ethnicity and religion that has been historically and systematically persecuted globally, and also has been on the rise in America. Intersectionality means that privilege and marginalization can coexist, meaning that almost everyone has privilege in some way, shape, or form, but no one is entirely immune to systematic and or social bias. When people talk about men, whether in a positive or negative light, they almost never consider male intersectionality. Being a man doesn't automatically make you untouchable, especially since the average man isn't famous, rich, or artificially handsome. And it doesn't guarantee that you'll never face systematic struggles. Billionaire tech bros or Hollywood producers with private jets and endless connections aren't the same as the average working class guy who gets screamed at by customers and their bosses, or who just got laid off and is struggling to pay rent. Yet somehow men who are like that are told that you have the same level of privilege as the ultra wealthy elites, just because you're both male. If you believe that's stupid, then you understand why we need male intersectionality ideas to be included in conversations surrounding men, so the average man doesn't keep getting screwed over by the very same system everyone thinks they're privileged under. That's what the Barbie movie was trying to tell you guys before the most media illiterate people just told you it was extremely bizarre and anti.
Oh, I remember watching it and I did not get how you know, the alt-right people were getting all of that fucking bullshit from it.
Men. There isn't just one type of man. Maybe you are privileged with riches, looks, and fame, but are also a good person who's considerate and has manners, and that's great. But there are bad men out there. And when people criticize them, they're not attacking them for being men, they're attacking them for being bad people. If you truly believe that you're one of the good ones, then you should be able to recognize that distinction. In the midst of the reality of thousands of sociopaths selling the humanity of their peers around them for other sociopaths, emotional wrecks abusing their partners over believing they changed the channel, and insecure people humiliating and violating others in the hopes that people around them will see them as a cool leader, it's not enough to be a bystander that didn't do anything. If you're choosing to stay silent when your peers show the signs of behaving violently, abusively, or cruelly, even if you aren't directly participating, you're giving those people the space to continue their harmful behavior. Maybe you aren't the problem, but you're allowing the problem to fester. I'm not saying that you need to cut off your friends the second they say or do weird shit, but if you genuinely care about being one of the good ones, then you should also care about holding yourself and your peers accountable. Purpose of men is to not wallow in self-pity or cling to outdated ideas of masculinity. It's to treat yourself and others as humans first. To be kind without seeing it as a weakness. To be vulnerable without seeing it as emasculating. To be accountable without seeing it as self-betrayal. If you truly are
Agreed. The true sense of masculinity is being secure enough in your masculinity to not have it threatened by random shit like your style choice, your fucking fashion choices.
tired of being reduced to a stereotype as a paycheck or a disposable provider, then it's on all of us to change that narrative by embracing the differences of men instead of shutting them down and out. But I don't know, that's just me. Laters.
Yo, what's up, Amara? How you doing? That was a nice vid. We're gonna head on to the next one now, even though I don't know what the fuck the next one is gonna be. Oh, hold on. Let's see if YouTube gives us anything new to watch. Why everyone turned on Pack God. I haven't really seen that much other than like random TikTok skits hating on his fans. I feel like that would obviously be their biggest insecurity, but like, let's watch it. We start with why everyone, today we are watching why everyone turned on Pack God. Let's get into it.
Packs, dirty socks. Hey, yo, everyone, go and follow Paradox. Crypto scam, orange crayon, peanut butter jelly jam.
Okay, I can already see why. How did I sit through this with a straight face? It's just random weird vomit.
Dirty toast.
The lobotomy.
Because I sent some of your roast to my bully, and I got my crush to be my girl. God just says random He doesn't really roast people.
Bro, shut the frick up. I bet Pat God would kill you in a battle that is
Nah, wrap it up, little bro.
why your dad left you.
I heard you.
Okay, that's a little too far though. Like, okay, it's cringe, but he can enjoy what he wants without his dad having left him. That's a little too far.
You were 5'1", bro.
Pat God, just as stated in his name, is considered to be the absolute king of roasting. He has reached the pinnacle of the sport. There is just simply no one better than him. He has mastered the dark arts of roasting. If there's someone you want in roasting in your life, whether that be little Timmy from across the street or someone you just simply don't like online, he most likely roasted them in their
Okay, calm the glaze a little.
entire family heritage in his sleep yesterday. He is that good.
Shut your stupid.
Is what I would say if I was a brain rotted 12-year-old. But anyway, jokes aside, his
Yeah, there we
entire
go.
brand,
Now he's
his
being
stick
real.
is basically just going into random Discord servers and going into voice chat and just absolutely clowning on anyone who is in there, or at least that's what it's portrayed to be. And it seems that his main ops, his main target seems to be OnlyFans models, emo girls, and furries. Like I said before, his understanding of roasting is a bit too nuanced for us mere mortals to understand, so I'm gonna try to break it down as best as I can for you. It's basically just yelling into the mic to see whoever the
So weird vomit then.
loudest in the room is, and if you're the loudest, congratulations, you won the roast. In his early days, his videos were seen to be as ironic, kind of like making fun of people who actually took Discord roasting seriously. You can even tell this by looking at his profile picture, the one he chose. He chose King from One Punch Man, and if you know King from One Punch Man,
He's a fraud.
you know he like plays himself as like this big, powerful, buffed up, chiseled dude, but in reality, he's just a bum. But as we all know, Pat God's audience is really just filled with children. And if you haven't figured that out now, I'd be very surprised. And because of that, they just hear someone blasting into the mic random things, and they really think the person that they're talking to is actually getting roasted into the ground. But in reality, it's just giving them permanent ear damage. You can even see this
Yeah,
by
ear
like,
damage
some of the
is not
people that
cool.
he roasts. It's like they are like absolutely like completely blank stared. It's like they kind of like blue screen because they straight up they just don't know what to say because they don't understand what
No, because how the fuck would you process that shit? Like, I actually want to know how you process it.
he's saying because he is borderline incoherent in 90% of his roast. I mean, you guys can understand it. The people who actually watch his video, you can because you have very flashy editing and subtitles. They don't. They're just hearing someone just Mike absolutely peaking and just spouting random nonsense. It's like, I know people have said this countless times, but if you were to watch a Pat God roast without any of like the editing or anything, it's very awkward.
Yeah, it's just like one guy yelling random word vomit that's completely incoherent into a mic and no one responding.
I don't even know what he's saying.
Which also, I don't get the furry hate or like the emo hate. Like, can people not just enjoy things anymore? It's like these motherfuckers don't remember when gaming was getting clowned on for absolutely no reason.
One eternity later.
But truly the strangest thing to me though is that if I would have made these claims a few months back, I would have been viewed as a blasphemer. I would have been sent to the stakes and crucified right then and there. But now it's just all of a sudden unanimously agreed upon. And the thing is, I have had actual experience with actually not agreeing with Pat God because I thought the music video he made on Bella, it was cringe.
You know, it honestly 100% was cringe though. Oh no, cringy.
Honestly thought it was cringe, and I said that in the most sugar-coated way in my second video on Bella the Wolf, and I still had people who didn't really agree or like that video. Alright, hearing myself again, it kind of sounds like I'm a narcissist, so I'm gonna make myself a bit more clear here. What I'm trying to get at is, what could have been a rather wholesome comment section if I did not cherry pick my words extremely well, just as the comment says literally right there, clear as day, no hate because it's just your opinion. If I did not grind that in with every time I would say I thought it was mid or I didn't like it, if I did not make that point extremely clear to people, I probably would have been berated with a buttload of Pat God fans. Heck, I still got a
Yeah, no, you're gonna get berated even now though, because I don't understand how, but he still has fans even after like it's exposed for being fake and all that. I mean, technically not exposed since he did put it like at the very bottom of the video description, but at the same time, kind of still exposed.
few comments glazing Pat God. So this kind of has you like wondering the back of your head, what was the all of a sudden switch up? Like, when did the tables turn to his disfavor? Why is Pat God all of a sudden hated? Before I go on any deeper in this video, I would just have to ask you to please like and subscribe if you do enjoy this video. I put a lot of work into all my videos, so all the support is very appreciated. I ain't gonna put a Nerf gun to your head begging you to do so, but it will be very appreciated. As well as joining my Discord server. I am trying to revive that dead thing. And with that
Was that me or was that the video?
out of the way, we can continue on. The first video that was made that had people see Pat God in a new light was a video made by FlazeFire that was posted February 18th, 2025 titled Pat God the Lord of Corny. For the first 10-ish minutes of this video, he's just going over what I said in the intro of this video, that Pat God's roast is just him screaming into the void, but he does it in a lot greater detail along with better editing. At the 12-minute and 19 section mark of this video, he throws a pretty bold and interesting claim that Pat God's videos could possibly be faked. I'm not gonna lie, I have a lot of respect for FlazeFire for throwing such a bold claim at such a big creator like Pat God, but
Honestly, in retrospect, no fucking shit that shit was fake.
unfortunately for him in the end, it turns out that he was only half correct. But just like he said,
it's complicated. Because they're fake in the way that professional wrestling is fake, which is to say that the fight is prearranged and the moves are all scripted and the winner is already decided. If you look in the description of any of his packing videos, you may come across a small line buried right at the bottom that says,
"This is not real bullying. This is made for entertainment purposes only."
which is code for this video is fake. Because there are quite a few without this little disclaimer that are clearly prearranged setups.
Pat God vs. Emo Girl promoting their Instagrams. Pat God vs. Emo Girl 2 promoting their e-dating Discord. Pat God vs. Cosplaying E-Girl promoting their TikTok. Her Mom Walked In promoting her YouTube.
to explain why he isn't entirely correct, I'm actually going to use this same analogy, but I'm going to use the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight as an example. As we all know by now, the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight was completely fake. Mike Tyson wasn't just
Yeah, no, I think where he's going with this is that Pat God is always punching down for no reason. He's never gonna punch up. Or, you know, punch straight. By that I mean get someone on his level.
going in there out of the kindness of his heart to be a personal punching bag for Jake Paul just so he can say that he beat Mike Tyson. He had his own ulterior motives. He was obviously paid off by Jake Paul so that he could lose. There was something to gain from that fight from him. That's somewhat the way that Pat God's videos work. He goes up to people, he roasts them, and then afterward, he goes upload it onto YouTube. But to gain consent from the people he has roast, he has to abide by certain conditions, and one of those conditions is that he promotes the socials from the people that he roasts. So yeah, just because they plug in their own social medias in his videos, it doesn't mean that the video is fake. It just simply means that that was the condition that was held against.
But at the same time, that kinda does mean it was fake. But fake in a different sense than what the clip was saying.
Against Pat God to keep the video up. If not, he would have to take it down. The biggest example that he used of him faking videos was with the furry, and yeah, technically it was staged, but the roasting was real.
No, I've been literally, bro. I literally just looked at him and just like thought of this random shit that would make sense. But I said he looked like Clifford the Big Red Dog skeleton or some shit.
Hit it from the top of your head.
Bro, this shit's funny as fuck.
And because of the sudden upsurge in hate, a certain unfavorable clip of Pat God got revived.
And I could dunk on low tier God because he's my little bitch.
I heard you were 5'1", bro.
I don't know where you got that information from, but I think you're
Damn. 5'1" is crazy though, not gonna lie.
horribly mistaken.
Somebody said he was 5'1".
And for some reason, this clip in specific really blew up, and now everyone just accepted it as fact that he's 5'1". Like, of all people, why low tier god? Like, my boy has a reputation, and I'm just gonna leave it there.
You serve zero purpose.
Damn.
You should.
I forgot about that clip.
And the other thing is, even though Pat God can literally say, and he's screaming from the top of the hills that he is not 5'1", the more he keeps pushing it, the more he keeps trying to prove that he is not 5'1", people just keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it even more. This man showed his literal driver's license just to try to silence the 5'1" meme.
Mistake, before you show that to the stream, just make sure there's nothing on there that you shouldn't show.
Okay.
I don't know if I don't think that any of that matters.
Okay, so it says here you are 5'10" and sex is M. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think there was any doubt that he was a male, but okay, bro.
And honestly, I think this is just gonna be a part of Pat God's career now. It's like, people are still gonna clown on him for being 5'1", even though he technically isn't. And it's just gonna be that way probably till like the end of time, really. Finally, we can get into the meat and potatoes, the real reason why I made this video. Pat God's response. On March 2nd, 2025, 2 weeks after FlaceFire's original video, he posted this video titled, "The Truth About Pat God" on his second channel. His response video is actually pretty decent in my opinion. There's some things that I don't necessarily agree with, but there are also other things that I thought he responded really well to. Like, for example, the 5'1" allegations, him being cringe, the faking video stuff. I thought he responded to those claims really well. One of the parts that I just personally did not like was the first thing that he talked about, like the origins of Pat God. It was fine at first. He was just talking about the origins of his name, why he used King as his profile picture, and how it's all supposed to be ironic. And then he
Yeah, and then it spiraled into being not ironic.
Slid in this little section right here.
Basically what happened was that I started packing so much as this Pack God character that I actually started getting very good at it. I think that was partially due to the fact that prior to doing this, I had ran a channel called
No, the fuck, you were not good at it. Where'd you get off on lying that blatantly, buddy?
Void for 2 years, which was literally just me making diss tracks on people. So the roasting and the rhyming really just kind of came naturally to me. But yeah, so I kind of just actually became this really good Discord packer. People thought it was really funny, and so I kind of just said screw it and ran with it.
And this right here is why I personally call Pat God cringe. His roast is all fine and dandy and whatnot. I don't actually have that big of an issue with it. But the fact that he calls himself an actual packer, the fact that
Yeah, no, that's like blatantly a lie. He's not good at it whatsoever.
It went from ironic to he actually thinks he's good now is where I just draw the line. That's why I can't look at Pat God's videos the same anymore. It's like you became the thing that you swore to destroy. You came in here as a troller and it ended up becoming the people that you were trolling in the first place. And the strangest thing to me,
You became what you swore to destroy, yeah, motherfucker.
though, is that when you're in the stream confronting FlaceFire, you were saying you were doing this as a joke, but then in your response, you're saying you're good at it, that you're actually really roasting people.
Packing is not supposed to be like the pinnacle of a roast. Like the central concept of packing is not supposed to be something that's reaching like.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's not supposed to be just random unga bunga must be loudest.
Like the greatest roast you could possibly do, or even necessarily a good roast. It's about just random kind of like garbage that sometimes could be funny. For instance, like you could look through one of my videos and maybe you'll find 5, 6 things that I say that like are stupid, and then maybe you'll find 5, 6 things that you're like, oh shit, maybe that actually is kind of funny.
Not to be a pinky raising buffoon over here, but I'm going to read you the definition of Discord packing. Discord packing is a slang term referring to the style of rapid fire roasting that occurs over voice calls within Discord. Packing servers usually within the servers and channels watch over to listen the packing battles and will then later vote on a winner. The meaning of packing, or akin to packing, someone with fast-paced, hyperfixated insults, usually spouted in one breath and nonsensically. So that leads me to question. What part are you saying you're good at? Is it the actual roasting part, or is it the nonsensical part? Because if it's the nonsensical part, I will take back everything I said. But from what I hear, it seems that you think you're good at the actual roasting part, because
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. If he thinks he's good at the nonsensical part, he is. He's not saying anything wrong. If he thinks he's good at the roasting part, buddy, you don't even make complete sentences. You just spout random word vomits.
a little birdie told me that you think that you could for real beat Eminem in a roast battle. Not Discord packing, you're not packing him, you think you can actually roast him.
No, the fuck you can't.
You need to
No.
make that a lot more clear to your audience, because I found this community post from a few years ago, and I know this is old, but this is an example of how his audience actually is. And this probably could be a joke that Pat God like just conjured up, I don't know. But as of right now, I'm just gonna assume that this is some random person that just DM'd Pat God one day. And I'm just gonna read it to you real quickly. Hey, Pat God, I'm a big fan, and I know you will probably never see this, but this guy at my school keeps bothering me and making fun of my weight. So today when he came up to me, I tried to pack him. Though while I was trying to spit my joke, he was shoved me into a wall and said that I was autistic and laughed at me. Any advice on what to do now? And honestly, his response is beautiful. I'm not even gonna hold you, man. I know I'm kind of clowning on Pat God right now, but this is just a 10 out of 10 response. Have you thought about trying a soundboard?
Okay, no, that is a funny response, so I'll give him that.
This was probably at the time when Pat God was just still doing this ironically, but this is how a lot of Pat God's fans do actually think. And you can even see that in the comment section. It's like, I hope everything goes alright for this guy. Actually stood up for himself. You've unleashed his origin story. You taught him how to defend himself. I respect that. I really hope everything goes well with this guy. I'm autistic and give respect to this guy. Stay strong, my brother. Honestly, better than 99%.
What the fuck are these comments, though? How did these people not get that it's satire?
Of kids who get bullied handle their situations, if this isn't a meme at all. And then this one, actually proud of this guy, because a lot of kids in my school get bullied and they don't defend themselves. This guy though stood up for himself. Honestly, this is gonna be a message to Pat God. If he somehow, by the grace of God, finds this video, I'm gonna give you two options. I'm gonna give you red pill, blue pill right now. You gotta either, one, go back to how you were in the old days of like doing this as a joke and not actually taking this seriously like you are now. Even though you say you're not, it's pretty clear to me that you do take this a bit seriously at heart. You may lose a bit of fans doing this, but just as you said, there are always some bad eggs, and think of it as just clearing out those people. Or two, you continue what you're doing right now and just have to suffer the consequence of more people like me coming along in the future and making these types of videos. But honestly, the most abysmal part to this video was how you responded to Coco's. But at first, while watching this response, I just thought he was responding to absolute nothing burger claims. Like, I ain't gonna lose sleep because Pat God is 5'1". And again, I had that same mindset from when I was watching the Coco part. I was like, oh well, that truly sucks. Just better luck next time.
Yeah, like just boohoo.
I guess. And just to be sure I wasn't being biased towards Pat God, I did want to see the original video to see what he was talking about. But Salia was unlisted, but thankfully Coco was nice enough to give me access to the original video. And I'm just gonna be completely real here. Like, the amount of inconsistencies I found from what he was saying in his response versus what was actually in that video was pretty pathetic. So for the remainder of this video, I'm going to be going over the inconsistencies that I found. So if you're paying attention to the background, you probably noticed the soggy cereal style background, and it's going to be the same exact concept as that. For the claims that I found to be wrong, I'm going to mark with an X, and for the claims that I found to be correct, I'm going to give it a check, and for the ones that I just simply don't know, I'm going to add question marks. Alright, so he's saying that her main claims was being 5'1", ruined his career, and Speed ended his career. There's a difference.
And two of the main arguments that were used were one, that I'm 5'1", which as I've stated isn't even true, but the other central argument of this video was that Speed McQueen ended my career by exposing the fact that I am 35 years old.
Alright, so we're gonna start off with the 5'1" stuff, and who better to hear it from?
I'm sorry. Who fucking Speed McQueen? The shorts guy?
Than Coco herself.
Let's consider the fact that a video began to resurface, a video that wouldn't completely destroy but would very much harm his reputation in many different ways. Now don't get me wrong, this isn't the video that destroyed his reputation, we're not going to bring that one up yet, but this one would take a serious swing at it.
Aye, brother, she said it right there. This isn't the thing that ruined his career, but it definitely did damage it. And damage it definitely did. Because just as I was saying in the beginning of his video, even though the claims of him being 5'1" have been proven to be fake multiple times, it's just simply it's gonna stick with him. Just simply because, one, it's funny, and two, he keeps pushing back on it. And we know how the internet goes. The more you push, the harder they're gonna push back. In her
Yeah, honestly, 99% of the time, with stuff like this, it'd be better if he just like ignored it, because then people would get tired of seeing it.
original video, she used the example of Leafy and his chin, but since Pat God didn't seem to understand what she was trying to get at, I'm gonna use another example. I'm gonna use Dream and his face reveal. As we all know, Dream was a faceless creator for the absolute longest time, and people before then were glazing him, thinking that like he was beautiful even though he was hiding his face. It's like they were to view him as like this goddess that they just couldn't touch. But then when he face revealed and he showed that he just looks like a normal human being, people really didn't like that because they had such a high standard for him, because they thought he was like this 10 out of 10 dude, but in reality he's just a normal guy. It's kind of the same thing with Pat God and his height. People view him as like this big tough bully, and even though he isn't technically 5'1", it definitely hurts his reputation, because that big tough guy act is really hard to keep up if people are thinking in the back of their minds that this dude could possibly be 5'1". The next one is Speed claimed him to be 35, so he lost the beef. I ain't leaving her entirely off the hook though, because the stream with him confronting Pat God, he literally said it like one of the first claims that he made at the 15-minute mark that Speed did absolutely no research.
Yeah. I think I remember actually watching that one, because that was back when I was a cringy ass little kid that liked Pat God. So what can I say? I guess I can't be talking.
It took me 5 minutes to find this at watching the stream at 2x speed,
which I'm nowhere near that age. But like now that I'm, you know, now that I'm like in, wait, you said what? You said you have no idea how old I am?
To be honest, I just looked you up real quick and just
he didn't do his research. He didn't do his research.
That's great.
I didn't do proper research. I don't have time for that bullcrap.
She did tell me that she was rushing this video.
He's British!
I completely understand that, but I think he could have spared 5 minutes to like go through the stream like at 2x speed. So, not gonna lie, very disappointing. And honestly, she wasn't like tossing this around as like it was like stone cold facts. It was just a strange hypothetical.
Now this could be incorrect, but it seems like it could also be accurate at the same time. I mean, Pat God never seemed to respond to that claim, so overall it seems to be true, and if it is, this dude is almost as old as my dad. I always assumed he was like 21 or something. If he is truly 35, the fact that he got into beef with Bella the Wolf, who is like 12 years old, is actually insane. Don't take this the wrong way.
Yeah, how the fuck are you gonna go around beefing with the little kids?
Bella the Wolf is a scum, but at the end of the day, she's literally 12 years old. It doesn't excuse anything she said, but like if you're 35, maybe don't make a diss track on 12-year-olds.
And to be completely real, still roasting Bella the Wolf at the prime age of 22 with your kindergarten level roast, it still looks incredibly bad. I'm not even gonna lie. Well, you're probably thinking to yourself, didn't you not make a video on Bella? Well, yes, I did. And at the time, I was brand new to commentary and I barely knew what I was doing. And also, I was 15 at the time when I posted that video. So I was brand new to commentary and I was basically just 3 years older than what Bella was. Editor Abstracty here also forgot to mention that I straight up just didn't know her age at the time. If I knew that she was 12, I probably would not have made that video. And not to mention, I wasn't really there to roast her. I was just talking about the stupid things that she did. And also, you're probably thinking like, oh, didn't Pat God not know that she was a child? Well, literally, in his video, the one that he uploaded.
Yeah, if he knew, then he's literally just fucking scum. Otherwise, if that actually is Bella the Wolf, then that's a goated wall you have right there. That's the one good thing that comes of it, I guess.
On his channel, not the live stream, his video, he literally has Bella the Wolf call her mom.
Hey mom, what's up?
Nothing. What's up?
Yeah, I would just wanted to know if you exist.
God.
I just needed to tell you. I just needed to tell
Oh
you.
yeah, guys, those
I love
5
you,
reactors are
Mom.
fucking fast.
And I'm just talking about the video he posted on his main channel. He made a diss track too. A diss track. Oh my days, guys. Oh my days. Great Scott, shiver my timbers, man. He didn't make one, but 2 diss tracks. Two diss tracks. Man, I would love to go over this, man, but this entire video is already too long, and I feel like with every word, man, I'm like have to do like a whole separate QTE system.
Yeah, no, you need
just
like
to make
5
sure
different
I don't
videos
get my
for
channel
this.
sent to the Shadow Realms. Like, sincerely, what is a 12-year-old going to do and say to this? Like, this isn't no Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef over here, man. This isn't like 2 lyrical geniuses going bar for bar, lyric for lyric. This is a 22-year-old man with an overinflated ego going up against a 12-year-old who has
Yeah, someone honestly needs to like humble Pack God real quick.
been probably neglected by their parents. I'm adding this in here for sillies. I cannot say for sure that Bella the Wolf is 12, and I sincerely do not care to find out, like doing research on this top tier bum, because doing research on her is like the equivalent of doing research on Dogpack. There is so much stuff out there, it's impossible to prove what is right and what is false. So there's some things that point to her being rather younger, and there's some things pointing to her being rather older. I cannot say for sure, and nobody else can. Alright, being 5'1", ruining Pagod's career is gonna get a big X. Speed claimed him to be 35, so he lost the beef. I'm gonna give him the half dub on this, just simply because Coco did kind of fail in the research department, but at the same time, the point that she was trying to make still stands. That is pretty weird, you as an adult making diss tracks on an alleged 12-year-old, but that's just me. Next one is, the call was Speed was actually horrific for him. Nope, wasn't even close to horrific for Speed at all. If anything, it was promoting him more, because you said yourself, you're actually getting berated by Speed fans in
Honestly, all of these points are things I can agree with. There isn't really that much for me to commentate on with the
your stream. If it was really a landslide victory for him, he probably wouldn't be getting berated in the first place.
Speed McQueen's fans decided to bot my chat with Japanese characters.
You are.
Also, Speed saying that he's racist out loud is like literally saying the sky is blue. We have known this for the longest time. Him saying it out loud doesn't make any difference. And going off of your friend's description on how to win a roast is literally just taking off your headphones and just ignoring him.
So I'm pretty sure that's actually what he does, because he just yells over people or he straight up ignores anything they say.
When Packard Jr. was packing me, all I had to do was just turn his sound on Discord down, and it was like I just won.
So going off of that description, you technically lost the beef with Speed.
Stop fucking playing me, bitch. All your teeth have different emotions. Your fucking teeth are like an inverted title sequence. Stop fucking playing me. And look at you. You live in a.
So
wait, that's a valid point. Holy shit, we can actually say that he lost to fucking Speed McQueen.
Yeah, big fat X. You know what? Quadruple X's. I'm gonna add 3 X's on this one. No, it was not horrific for Speed in the slightest. The next one is getting dates wrong. Yeah, this is entirely true, so free check mark for Pat God. Coco Crazy herself even admitted that, yeah, she did get the dates mixed up. When actually it is the main reason why that she took down the video according to her community post. Alright, the next one is Speed was the main argument that she made in her video. Yeah, just immediate big fat red X, because right after the section with Speed McQueen, she goes to say that the video that actually ruined Pat God's reputation was the one he made on Bella.
But the video that really truly damaged his reputation was his video against Bella the Wolf.
Next one is, because he didn't post the video on Speed, he lost. This one's getting a few question marks because, well, he has also yet to post the video, and also, if he just somehow happens to scrap the video, I think that would probably be the best move, because it looks like
Yeah, no, because he got fucking humbled in that video.
nothing is being accomplished throughout that entire stream. It's like he's only thing that has been done is that he audibly said that he was racist. That was it. The only thing that this did is just remind people of Speed's existence, because sincerely, I forgot this man existed until I had to do research for this video. So yeah, the question marks are going to remain here, because I don't want to say he lost because he didn't post the video, but I don't want to say that he's gonna post it, because just because you're working on a video does not mean that you could scrap it. You can literally edit an entire video, have a thumbnail ready for it and everything, and you could still scrap it. Alright, the final claim, faking quotes. I'm gonna bang this one out real quickly. This is probably the easiest one on this list. No, she did not fake any quotes. It was just a misunderstanding. It was just a crappy joke that she put in there, like as an example of how his lyrics can be.
I mean, take one of his lyrics. Your grandma went to the store and turned into an apple.
Honestly, if the joke was just better timed, I probably would have had a giggle from that, because that do be how his roast be sometimes, because while he was roasting Speed, he equated a crypto scam to a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Like, how do the two combine? Like, what do they have in common?
Yeah, no, because what could the context for that roast possibly be? Because I don't remember Speed McQueen getting into any, like, crypto shit.
Like, where's the roast besides mentioning the crypto scam? So yeah, no, a big fat red X from me. So to conclude this extremely crappy and late video on Pat God, honestly, he was doomed from the start, from the moment he acquired such a toxic audience that basically views him as someone who has never lost a roast a day in his life. When you have to keep up to such a high standard, it's basically impossible to maintain, and so because of that, your relevance is very fleeting because of that. It may not even be a commentary channel that is gonna take him down. He may just say something so incredibly stupid, or that he actually just loses a roast to the point where even he has to admit it, where his career is just done for. There's so many possible things that he can do wrong that can basically end his career. It's basically just constantly walking on thin ice. That's basically it for the video. Thank you guys so much for dealing with my shenanigans. I know this video is probably gonna get berated with Pat God fans. I am more than mentally prepared to deal with them. It's like, either way, every comment they send is just basically proving my point more. The very thing that's gonna kill Pat God in the end is the very people who love him the most. Actually, I almost forgot.
Yeah, no, his fans are eventually gonna turn on him when he loses the roast. 100% agreed.
I
forgot to unpause the video.
He watched the whole video. And I'm gonna send this video off in a way that even Pat God will be proud of. Boy, it look like you wake up early in the morning and wash your face with some cremated cricket dust, you ugly ass boy. You look like you sell your soul to the devil for a pocket full of—
Why does this actually sound like Pat God though? Like, it's 99% accurate.
Changing some lotion. Why you be out here getting promotions for telling your Chinese spyware to your viewers, yo scummy ass boy? Why be dropping bars about PB and J's? Why I be out here drop shipping some fake J's because I got real motion?
Alright chat, that's gonna be it for this reaction stream. Thank you all for stopping on by, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Alright, we gotta find someone to trade out to. Hold on. Not really anyone to read from my follow list, so we're just gonna look for someone random. There's no one I'm comfortable